Why would a country send out more than 100 boats and let the whole world watch them do it? Why would a country send out more than 100 boats and let the whole world watch them do it? Something does not add up here, and once you see what happened next, you will understand why. Before we go further, hit that like button right now. It takes 1 second, and it tells me you want more videos like this one. Subscribe if you are new, because this channel breaks down military moves the way nobody else does. And if this shocks you even a little, share it with someone who needs to see it too. Now let's get into what actually happened. Early this morning, satellite cameras caught something strange happening in the waters near the Strait of Hormuz. Iran's Revolutionary Guard put more than 130 fast attack boats into the water at once. They gathered near Qeshm Island, split into 2 large groups, and sat there in plain sight. Not hidden, not disguised. Just out in the open, waiting to be seen. That is the part that should catch your attention. Why would anyone show their entire hand like that? To understand this moment, you need to know what Iran has been through over the last 3 months. Since late February, the country has lost almost its entire traditional navy. Frigates sunk, mine-laying ships destroyed. Roughly 90% of its larger warships are gone, sitting on the ocean floor or too damaged to move. The kind of navy that could threaten to shut down a major shipping route simply does not exist anymore. So what does a country do when its big ships are gone, but it still wants to look powerful? It turns to what is left. And what is left, in Iran's case, is a swarm of small, fast, cheap boats. These are not toys. Each boat runs between 60 and 75 feet long. They are powered by diesel engines that can push speeds up to 60 knots. That is faster than most American warships can go even at full sprint. They carry heavy rocket launchers, machine guns, and in some cases, something far more dangerous, a Chinese-made anti-ship missile that can travel up to 100 miles. The missile can skim just above the water to avoid being picked up by radar. When that missile hits, it is carrying enough explosive power to seriously damage or destroy a ship. So yes, this is a real threat. Nobody should pretend these boats are harmless just because they are small. Their entire design comes from a simple idea. If you cannot beat a bigger, stronger navy in a straight fight, you overwhelm it with numbers. Attack from every direction at once, fire everything simultaneously, force the enemy's defenses to try to track and stop too many things happening too fast. That is the strategy behind sending out 130 boats instead of 6 or 10. This was never really about attacking today. It was about a message that says, look, we still have teeth. But here's where the story turns and where it gets interesting. Within hours of that satellite image being confirmed, the American military released its own pictures, not hidden intelligence, not classified briefings leaked to reporters. Public images, timed almost perfectly to answer Iran's move. F-16 fighter jets flying active patrols near the strait. F-18 Super Hornets circling above from aircraft carriers. Apache attack helicopters already in the air, the very same kind of helicopter that took out 6 Iranian boats earlier this year in a matter of minutes. In other words, Iran showed its cards, and the United States responded by showing exactly what was already sitting on the table, ready to answer. Think about what that really means. Iran put its entire remaining strike force into open water. It revealed the exact coordinates of where it was hiding. And almost instantly, an opposing force with far greater range, speed, and firepower confirmed it already knew. That is not a coincidence. That is a message being sent right back. Now let's slow down and really understand how this kind of response actually works. It explains why 130 boats might be far less frightening than they look on the surface. Modern naval defense does not rely on one ship trying to fight off every incoming threat by itself. It relies on a chain of connected systems working together, almost like a relay race where everyone already knows their job before the race even starts. It begins high in the sky with an aircraft called the E-2D Hawkeye. Think of it as a flying radar station. It can track activity across more than 400 miles in every direction from wherever it is flying. This plane is not waiting for boats to suddenly appear out of nowhere. It watches the coastline, the hidden coves, the places boats launch from, long before those boats ever reach open water. Every movement, every formation change, every shift in direction gets picked up. It is shared instantly with every other military asset in the region through a shared communication network. That means fighter jets circling overhead, warships patrolling the water, and command centers on land are all looking at the exact same picture in real time. Nobody is guessing. Nobody is caught off guard. The moment those boats left their hiding spots this morning, they were already being tracked. Next in the chain comes something even more precise. Advanced radar systems mounted on stealth fighter jets can pick individual small boats out of a crowded stretch of water. Finding a 60-foot attack boat moving at high speed among all of that clutter takes serious technology. But that technology exists, and it was already active in the region this morning. Once a boat is identified, its exact location gets passed instantly to whichever aircraft is best suited to deal with it. And this is where the real strategy comes in. Instead of trying to fight 130 boats all at once as a single overwhelming mass, defenders break the ocean into sections. Each section gets assigned to a specific aircraft or ship. If a boat drifts from one section into another, it simply gets handed off. This turns one giant, chaotic problem into dozens of small, manageable ones. Picture it like this. Instead of one goalkeeper trying to stop 130 balls flying at the net from every angle at once, you put 30 goalkeepers on the field, each one covering a small, clearly marked zone. Suddenly, the numbers do not look so terrifying anymore, and the tools used within each zone are brutally effective. Attack aircraft like the A-10, famous for its heavy cannon, can fire rounds that tear straight through the fiberglass hull of a fast attack boat. One solid burst, and that boat is finished. Apache helicopters bring a different strength, the ability to fly low and slow, track a boat as it tries to zigzag away, and strike with precision even when the target is actively trying to escape. Together, these two aircraft cover each other's weaknesses. Now, let's pause here for a second, because this is a good moment to reset. If you are enjoying learning how this stuff actually works, do me a favor and tap that subscribe button. Then leave a single word in the comments that describes how surprised you are right now. I read every comment. It genuinely helps this channel grow when you engage. Let's keep going, because the story is far from over. There is another layer to this that most people never think about. Even if some of those 130 boats managed to get past the aircraft overhead, they would still have to deal with the ships themselves. Destroyers in the region carry multiple defensive systems stacked on top of each other. A rapid-fire close-in weapon system that can fire thousands of rounds per minute automatically. It is almost like a shield that reacts on its own without waiting for a human to pull a trigger. Missile systems capable of intercepting incoming threats mid-flight, and a large deck gun that can hit a target from more than 10 miles away with a single ship-disabling shot. None of these systems work alone. They work together, layer after layer. A boat trying to get close enough to fire its missile has to survive being tracked from the sky. It must get past fighter jets, helicopters, and then somehow slip past a warship's own defenses too. That is an enormous number of obstacles for a small fiberglass boat to survive. This is why military analysts describe the coordination itself, not the individual boats, as the real threat. A single boat acting alone is not dangerous in any serious sense. It is the coordinated attack, dozens of boats moving together, firing together, forcing defenders to react to everything at once that creates real danger. And that coordination requires communication. Commanders giving orders, signals being relayed, a plan being followed in real time. Which means there is a second option available beyond simply shooting down every boat one at a time. If you can disrupt or eliminate the command structure coordinating the swarm, you do not need to fight 130 boats acting in unison. You are left facing 130 individual boats, each acting on its own, with no coordination and no shared plan. A scattered group of boats moving randomly is simply not the same threat as a synchronized formation moving with purpose. So, when a country reveals the exact location where all of its strike boats are gathering, it is not just showing off its weapons, it is also, whether intentionally or not, revealing where its command and coordination happens. And that is an enormous amount of information to hand over for free. Now, why would Iran do this? Why put everything on display when it clearly knows it is being watched by satellites? The most likely answer has less to do with the ocean and more to do with the people watching from home. Iran has been dealing with an extremely difficult stretch. Its economy is struggling. Basic goods have become harder to afford. Salaries for some government workers have gone unpaid for extended periods. And on top of all that, the country has been living under one of the longest internet blackouts ever recorded, cutting off millions of ordinary citizens from outside information and even from each other. When people cannot access honest information, the only version of events they see is the one their government chooses to show them. And what better image to broadcast than rows of powerful-looking boats, engines roaring, weapons mounted, ready for battle? It creates the appearance of strength at a moment when strength is exactly what a struggling government needs its people to believe in. At the same time, this kind of display serves another purpose entirely. It sends a signal to more hardline voices within Iran's own military and political structure, the ones pushing for more aggressive action, showing them that the capability to strike still exists, even after months of losses. It is as much an internal political statement as it is a military one. But here is the problem with that strategy. A message meant to project strength can backfire if it hands your opponent information. And that appears to be exactly what happened here. There is a well-known military saying, "Know your enemy and know yourself, and you need never fear the outcome of 100 battles." Iran revealed its formation to the world, and within hours, the answer came back, showing that the other side already knew where everything was. It had been tracking it before it even moved, and had every tool in place to respond the moment it mattered. That is not a small detail, that is the entire story. Let's take a step back and think about the bigger picture here, because this event does not exist in isolation. There's a countdown running in the background of all of this, a window of time tied to ongoing negotiations over Iran's nuclear program. Diplomatic talks are happening, deadlines are approaching, and every move either side makes right now gets read as a signal. Sending 130 boats into open water during a moment this sensitive is not something that happens by accident. It is a calculated risk, a way of saying we are still here, we still have options. Do not assume we are finished without firing a shot. The problem with calculated risks, though, is that they only work if the other side does not already see them coming. And based on how quickly and precisely the response arrived this time, it is fair to say the risk did not land the way it was intended. One more quick moment before we continue, because I want to keep this channel growing so I can keep making videos like this. If you have made it this far, you are clearly someone who actually cares about understanding what is happening in the world. Smash that like button if you have not already, and share this video with one person who would find this as interesting as you do. It genuinely makes a difference. Now, let's finish this story the right way. So what does all of this actually tell us? It tells us that raw numbers do not automatically translate into real power. 130 boats sounds massive on paper, but modern military coordination makes that number look like 130 separate problems, each one solvable. It also tells us something important about how modern warfare is fought before a single weapon is even fired. Information is a weapon. Knowing where your opponent is often matters more than the size of your fleet or the number of your fighters. Iran revealed its position. The United States revealed that it already knew, and in that exchange, one side clearly came out ahead. There is also a lesson here about desperation. When a country loses 90% of its naval power, it adapts. It shifts to smaller, cheaper, faster tools, and it tries to make those tools look as intimidating as possible. That is not a sign of confidence. It is often a sign of limited options and strength under serious pressure. Finally, this moment tells us something about patience. The United States did not rush out and destroy those boats. Simply showing that its aircraft were already in position, already watching, already ready, was enough to make the point. Sometimes the most powerful response is not an explosion. It is simply proving that you were never caught off guard. So the next time you see a headline about a massive show of force, remember this moment. Remember that size is not the whole story. What matters is who is watching, who is prepared, and who already knew the move was coming before it ever happened. Iran wanted the world to see boats and feel fear. Instead, the world saw proof that nothing was a surprise. That is a story about who is truly in control of the moment, even when they never fire a single shot. And that, more than any weapon on either side, might be the most powerful message of all. If this video helped you understand what is really happening, make sure you are subscribed and drop a comment with your thoughts. Share it with someone who still thinks this story is just about boats. I will keep bringing the story to you one part at a time.